What is up, YouTube? If you didn't know, my name is Twebs, and today I'm bringing you guys another Call of Duty Ghosts gameplay commentary. Basically, what you're going to be seeing in the background is the same thing as the last commentary that I uploaded. So it's two crank games back to back. It's actually from the same session that the last commentary was from. I got to play some more. I'm going to play some more probably after I upload this video, just to try to get some gameplay so I have more stuff to talk about. But yeah, that's basically what you're going to be seeing in the background. Now, if you'll remember back to when I first started this channel, you'll remember I'd said that I was going to talk about sports stuff. And that never really happened. I haven't really talked about anything sports related, I think, over the course of the entire channel. You also remember that I told you guys that I'm a big basketball junkie, and that's my favorite sport. And when I started the channel, basketball season wasn't in full effect yet. It wasn't even close to starting. But now we're really into the crunch of basketball season, and I thought, now would be a great time to start bringing you guys some commentaries about sports and what's going on, particularly in the basketball world. And there's really no better place to start than the Championship Classic that just occurred a couple days ago in college basketball. Now, what that was you had two of probably the biggest early season games that I've ever seen in college basketball. You had Kansas versus Duke in the late game, and then you had number 1 Kentucky versus number 2 Michigan State in the early game. Two absolutely ridiculous games that you don't really think would be played back to back this early in the season. And probably one of the biggest storylines heading into this was the fact that the top 3 freshmen in the nation were all playing. You had Julius Randle for Kentucky, you had Andrew Wiggins for Kansas, and you had Jabari Parker for Duke, all playing in this tournament. NBA scouts were everywhere. I think they said they had a total of like 70 NBA officials and executives at the United Center in Chicago on hand witnessing this. Just crazy, crazy stuff. So I kind of just want to talk about the two different games, just kind of break stuff down. So basically, the first game was number 2 Michigan State versus number 1 Kentucky, and I caught a good part of this game. I didn't catch a ton of the beginning, but I caught most of the end of it. And I think the main thing to take away from this game was that it was really a tale of experience versus inexperience. What I mean by that is Michigan State is a group of players who have been together for many years now under Tom Izzo, and they know how to work together, they know how to gel together, and they just know how to win. As opposed to Kentucky, who it's kind of becoming the same thing for them every year. They bring in a very talented group of freshmen. They always have the number 1 recruiting class, it seems to be, and they kind of rely a little more on talent towards the beginning of the season until they're kind of able to gel together by the end of the season, hopefully in the hopes of winning a championship. So you kind of see that, though, in some of the stats. So what I mean by that is Michigan State only had 7 turnovers the entire game as opposed to 17 assists, which is a pretty good assist-to-turnover ratio for the team as a whole. But on the other side, you had Kentucky, who had 17 total turnovers to 8 assists, and 8 of the turnovers were caused by Julius Randle, who is one of the biggest prospects, freshman, like I said before. So I'm not really surprised that Michigan State pulled off the quote-quote upset. I don't really think anybody thought it was an upset. I think most people had Michigan State going into this game because of the experience of the team. But nonetheless, I thought Kentucky played very well. I think despite his 8 turnovers, Julius Randle showed why he is such a highly ranked NBA prospect, putting up 27 points and 13 rebounds, shooting 9 of 14 from the field. Very good numbers all around. Really the only blemish on his night was those 8 turnovers. And I think it's because he's trying to do a little more than he has to with all the talent around him. It's going to be interesting to see how this team gels together throughout the course of the season. I think they're going to have a very good chance to make a title run late, and I think Julius Randle is an incredible prospect, and I think he's probably going to end up having a very good NBA career. And then just to talk about Michigan State a little bit, Gary Harris, obviously, people know about him, and he had a good game with 20 points. But Keith Appling absolutely went off, nearly posting a triple-double. 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. And really, those kind of numbers are just make it difficult for your team to lose, especially when he only had 3 turnovers out of the 7 total that Michigan had. Just very good numbers. So kind of just comparing the 2 biggest stars from that game, 22, 8, and 8, with just 3 turnovers. And then you had Julius Randle, of course, with 27-13, but 8 turnovers. Not really a surprise to me that Kentucky lost. And going on to the next game, which was Kansas versus Duke, this was a game that I pretty much watched the entire way through, and it was really a battle of the freshmen, is what people were making it out to be. Jabari Parker for Duke versus Andrew Wiggins from Kansas. And in the first half, it was clearly in the favor of Jabari Parker. I think he had 19 first half points, was 4 for 5 from 3, absolutely just lighting it up. And Andrew Wiggins, I think, only had about 9 points at halftime, wasn't really playing that well, got into early foul trouble. Um, but in the second half, it really kind of turned around a little bit, and Kansas started to make a good bit of a push. They were actually able to stay in the first half of the game because of big contribution from Perry Ellis and also good contributions off the bench. I think they were outscoring the Duke bench in the first half like 15-3, I believe, and then Perry Ellis over the course of the entire game dropped 24 points and 9 rebounds. It was really able to help carry the Kansas team in the first half to stay with Duke. And then towards the end of it, it kind of just turned into the Andrew Wiggins show. Had a couple really good plays. Had a breakaway dunk too towards the end of it to put them up, I think 6 points maybe. And in the course, was actually able to foul Jabari Parker out of the game because Jabari was dealing with foul trouble towards the end of the game too. Wiggins went up for a dunk on a fast break, and Jabari kind of clipped him from the back a little bit. He finished and one. Jabari fouled out, and from there you could tell with about a minute left, Kansas was just going to win that game. Kind of looking at the stat lines, Andrew Wiggins 22 and 8 compared to Jabari Parker's 27 and 9. Jabari also had 2 steals and a block. You could make the case that Jabari Parker played the overall better game, and I think he did. That being said, though, Andrew Wiggins played incredibly well in the second half after having a really slow first half, especially playing in foul trouble too. I think that these are two very good teams. Duke was the fourth ranked team, Kansas the 5th ranked team. These are two very good teams that are going to make long runs in the tournament. Just because they're built pretty solidly, even though they rely on some young guys. I think Jabari Parker played incredibly well and showed, he is easily a top 5 draft pick, if not top 2 or 3, with Randall and Wiggins. And Rodney Hood played pretty well too. Didn't put up the greatest numbers, but 11 and 5, not bad. He definitely contributed a little bit. And then, like I said too, not only Wiggins from Kansas, but Perry Ellis put up 24 points. Wayne Selton Jr. put up 15 with 6 rebounds and 4 assists. Just overall good numbers from the Kansas team, and kind of just helped them take the win, end up winning the game by 11. I think the thing to take away from this, though, is that all 4 teams definitely have a very good chance of making late runs at the tournament. I mean, what essentially we saw here could have potentially been the Final Four. They're all incredibly talented teams, and they're definitely all gonna have a lot of growing up to do over the course of the season. Michigan State probably the least because they're the most experienced bunch of the 4, but Kentucky is definitely going to grow over the course of the season and become a very good team. Same with Duke, same with Kansas. Those 3 teams really, because they're really led by freshmen. Like I said before, Jabari Parker from Duke, Andrew Wiggins from Kansas, Julius Randle from Kentucky. Those 3 particularly showed why they're so valued, why 70 NBA scouts came out to watch them. They really are that talented, and all 3 of them shined on the biggest stage, primetime games on ESPN, at the United Center in Chicago, just in front of massive amounts of people. It's really impressive to see, freshmen performed that well. If the college rule wasn't in place, they probably all could have gone to the NBA right away, but it's glad to see that college rule is in place, I guess, because we get to see matchups like this in college and not necessarily right in the NBA that are just fun to watch. So anyway, if you guys like this commentary, make sure to hit the like button down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff. I'm going to be posting more basketball commentaries in the upcoming weeks. Maybe talk about some Northwestern stuff too. But anyway, if you liked it, please hit the like button, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.